I have chosen the best friend's brother as the anchor for this story. That night, just past midnight, I found a text on my husband's phone that made my breath catch. I can't keep lying to you. I've been with her for months. The room swam, my skin prickled, and the quiet of our house pressed in like a wall I could not climb. I stood there with the phone in my hand, the glow of the screen turning the walls into a moonlit stage for a truth I never wanted to face. My life before that moment felt simple and clean, like a white vase I carried without fear. The next morning I walked through a house that now belonged to two versions of me. The calm, steady wife who organized every day with care, and the fluttering woman who feared that the ground would open beneath her if she spoke the bare truth aloud. My best friend Mia had invited me to a weekend at her family's lake house, a place where she swore the air held fewer judgments and more quiet courage. Her brother Ethan, 10 years older, fresh from a difficult divorce and always a touch distant, would be there too. He moved through rooms with a calm that sounded like rain against glass, and when he looked at me, I felt watched by someone who had learned the hard lessons of life and still believed in the chance for repair. I was 38, with a calendar full of plans that suddenly looked brittle, like glass left out in a storm. The setting felt safe enough to breathe in again, and I clung to that safety even as the truth outside me began to unravel. The weekend arrived with the scent of pine and coffee, and the first day was a succession of small, careful smiles, a longer look here, a touch on the elbow there. Nothing more than ordinary friendship, except for the way my pulse quickened every time his name was spoken. The betrayal in my house weighed on me like a stone in my shoe, so heavy I could barely walk in a straight line. But the lake's surface shone with stubborn light, inviting me to believe in second chances, even when the night before had torn them out of the air. The first spark came, not as a kiss, but as a shared confession. Both of us felt the pull of a fresh start. Both of us longed for honesty after secrets had crowded the corners of our hearts for too long. An accidental brush of the hand at the cooler, a half smile that refused to fade, a conversation that wandered into memories of past loves and the fear of future losses. It was wrong, I told myself, this quiet, delicious danger, as if danger could ever be quiet when it lives inside you. But the more we spoke, the more the old walls between us dissolved, and the more I remembered how it felt to be seen, not as a wife or a friend, but as a woman who could still choose a different path. The inciting incident, the moment that shifted everything from ordinary to combustible, arrived with the rain. We stood on the screened porch, watching the sky unload its tears, our shoulders inches apart, and I told him about the night I found Daniel's lie, how the room had felt like a claustrophobic chamber with a single exit I could not reach. He listened with that rare combination of honesty and gentleness that makes you want to unfold your heart like a flag. He spoke of his own hurt, of a marriage that had cracked open and failed to heal, of the fear that comes with losing someone you thought you knew. In that moment, I felt the truth settle into me. I was grieving a life that might end, and I was being invited to grieve it with someone who understood the ache without needing to fix it. The rising action took shape in long evenings by the fire, where we talked until the embers turned to ash and the loud world outside fell quiet. He offered me a chair near his, as if to say, "You deserve to be near someone who respects your pace and your pace only." We walked along the dock after the sun dipped below the trees, the water ringing with the whisper of reeds, and I felt the old longing rise like a tide I could not turn away from. We discussed storms in our pasts, the way loss rearranges the map of a life, and we admitted that we both had trusted the wrong person with our hearts. My husband. who was once my compass, had become a rumor in the rooms we shared. The kind of rumor that makes you wonder which parts of you are still mine. And Ethan, with his neat, careful words, showed me a different kind of courage. The courage to tell the truth, even when it risks breaking someone you still love. The tension between us grew like a garden storm, visible in the way we stood closer than we should, in the rustle of fabric as we moved, in the unspoken question that hovered between us. What might happen if we chose a different path? I felt a pull toward him that tasted of rain and hope, and I knew I should walk away, that I should pack my bags and go home to a world where the only thing I risk is a future I can hold in both hands. But the heart does not obey the rules we lay down with our minds. It remembers the warmth in his gaze when I spoke of a childhood dream I hid behind a professional smile. Remembers the way his voice softened when he spoke of healing, not just repairing, but becoming new. Midway through the weekend, I found myself standing at the edge of the pier as dusk settled in, the air thick with lilac and rain. If this confession has you on the edge of your seat, hit like and share, because you will not believe what happens next. I reached for a breath that tasted of pine and fear, and he took a step closer. Not to take what is mine, but to offer me a road that could still lead to happiness, to a second chance I had thought broken beyond repair. He spoke softly of boundaries, of choosing what is best for both of us, and I heard the honest ache in his voice, a sound that promised not a reckless escape, but a careful nest of trust where two strangers might become something true again. By the time Sunday rolled in, I stood at a crossroads I had hoped never to see. Daniel's voice, once a steady drum, now sounded distant and hollow, and the house that had held my life seemed to shrink around me, a stage set for a drama I never asked for but could not deny. I could not pretend the ache would vanish if I walked away from Ethan, nor could I pretend that the old life would magically mend itself if I stayed and prayed for a miracle. So I chose something quieter and braver. I chose to tell the truth to myself first, to lay out the map of my heart with the care I had once used to arrange guest lists and seating charts. I told Daniel of the breach, not to break him, but to end the lie we had been living in. I asked for space to decide what my heart deserved, even if the answer meant a future I had not planned. Ethan stood a little ways off, not seeking to pull me toward him, but ready to listen when I found my own voice again. The days after the lake house have been a slow rebuild, a careful stitching of self onto new fabric. I am healing through grief and learning how to hold loss in a gentle palm, how to let it teach me what love can be when it does not demand a single shape. And I am no longer afraid to admit that a second chance can arrive not as a loud crash, but as a quiet, daily choice to be true to the person I am becoming. The old life is still there, but it feels thinner now, almost like an echo that has found a softer center. If I am to love again, I will do so with both eyes open and a heart that has learned to forgive the past while choosing the future with care. If you crave more raw, emotional confessions, please like, share, and subscribe. Your next chapter awaits. Emotional storytelling, forbidden love, second chances, mature romance, infidelity in marriage, love after loss, grief and healing, tenant love story, romantic narration, YouTube romance, healing through love, slow burn romance, older woman, younger man, heartfelt story, emotional connection, faceless love, Olivia and Marcus, narrative romance, love found me,